I'm certified first crew chief of the first White Top Marine One presidential helicopter. 4 years before, I was nobody, nothing. Here I am in charge of multi-million-dollar equipment and in charge of a group of Marines that developed from the get-go the presidential helicopter service. My certification permitted me to fly President Eisenhower. Here is a picture of the helicopter that the Air Force provided for the presidential transportation. And the president did not like it. It was too small, hot, noisy. So consequently, they decided that they were going to get higher Sikorsky type helicopters. It was agreed also that the Marine Corps would be the designated outfit to fly the president. So the HMX-1, the Helicopter Marine Squadron number 1, became the Presidential Helicopter Squadron. I was the crew chief of this helicopter. Is an HUS-1 or the H-34. Here we see the president deplaning with his naval attaches. We also have transported VIPs and dignitaries. In this picture, you can see Miguel Khrushchev is being given a ride over the city. He was a bit concerned because he thought that he was going to be shot down from the sky, and the president told him, he said, "Not to worry, I'm going with you. I'll protect you." So then, as the president, as they returned to base, I was helping Khrushchev to get off the helicopter, and I noticed that somebody's talking. So anyway, I assisted the man to get down off the helicopter, and as I noticed his lapel, he hit a pin of the Sputnik.
Is your phone number 949?
Pardon me?
33335.
Okay, so I told him that I give him a thumbs up. He was going to be, I told him this is it's Sputnik, okay. Well, thumbs up, the Russians do not mean the same thing as the Americans. But because I did say okay, he smiled, took it off and gave it to me. As he went back into the White House, the naval attaché took me aside, told me that I had just told the Prime Minister of Russia to shove it up his ass.
No, that's the, sorry, that's...
So the situation developed into a training requirement for the for people involved in the
967
Marine One service.
Your mic is open.
To have more. So this is a site of the helicopter taken off from the White House in the winter. We had the 24/7, 365 a day's job. So I developed 2 additional helicopters crews, and the presidential helicopter became a very important part of the Marine Corps. We also had Hueys that were prepared for the presidential service. It was as good as a airliner, except small, fast, and easy to transport. The helicopter became bigger. This is a 3D. So Marine One is what they are using today. The squadron has 12 of these helicopters, and they also have 8 of these 60s White Hawk, or the Sikorsky S-70. in support of the crew and the personnel that follows the president, we acquired the Ospreys, which has a great capacity of 40 people. And they also have a tremendous amount of cargo space. The continuation of the helicopter growth is shown here, where the Super Hawk is going to be effective at the Marine One helicopter. There are no there. They got 6 of them being made. The qualification process of 2 helicopters will be completed in 2021. And that's what's going to be serving the president in the future. The involvement of the presidential helicopter took me to the factory at Sikorsky in Connecticut several times. I met Igor Sikorsky in person. He was the first person to develop a functional helicopter in the United States. And in 1942, delivered the first helicopters for test flight to the Navy. I was in a rescue mission where we had to pick up a downed Navy pilot that had to ditch in Jacksonville, Florida, because he was unable to bail out of his plane. I had to jump in. He could not get his harness off, so I jumped into the water, swam to the airplane, took him off, helped him out of the cockpit, put him in the harness, and took him up in the air. Just at that time, the plane sunk. So I received this certificate, and I don't know if you can see my hat. There is a pin right in the middle, right there. That's the pin that Igor Sikorsky gave me in person with the certificate on the screen. And in addition to something, okay, there. Okay. Okay. In my off time, when I was not flying the White Top, we used green helicopters to fly out to Holmes Island, where they were shooting rockets with the Mercury capsule. So during the training, we used to go into the water and rescue the capsules, the Mercury capsules. So for several months, we supported the NASA on that issue. At that time, they were launching the missiles or the capsules with animals on board, dogs, monkeys, and I think one of the largest passengers was the orangutan. They didn't like it. When we pulled them out of the water, took them back to the launching pad, opened the capsule, and boy, those animals wanted to get out of there pretty quick. So to recap on my presentation, I mentioned that I had desperate measures at the time. I was unable to obtain work. I didn't have an education. I had no experience. I had no money. So because I had no work, I was hungry. I had no place to go. So I started as a runt in the Marine Corps, but through hard work and dedication, I was promoted to PFC out of boot camp. I advanced rapidly to corporal and sergeant in less than 2 years. I volunteered for aviation school. I excelled in training and education. I was nominated as HMX-1 squadron member and the first crew chief of Marine One presidential helicopters. I met President Eisenhower in person. He used to call me by my first name. my involvement, in addition to meeting with Igor Sikorsky and giving me a certificate for life-saving activities, I was also in a way to train, educated, where I took a life direction. I got out of the Marine Corps, went to college to study aeronautical engineering, which is my life story. And this is a very significant time in my life. So what did I gain from a military experience? Is that I, in addition to picking up the capsules, got an interest in science, made very good use of math skills, which I gained in the military. I graduated a 4-year degree in 3 years in aeronautical astronomical engineering. I learned that the orbital, interplanetary flight, dynamics, physics, astronomy, all that the space program is all about today. We were in the infancy at the time, so my science contribution has been big and planful. And in conclusion, I'd like to salute the first responders, including firemen, police, medical, mail, the mother, the fathers, by touching your heart, say thank you for your service, and that concludes my presentation. So we are on okay. Scott, unmute people so they can talk.
Victor, outstanding.
Questions?
Outstanding. I have a question. What year did you join the Marine Corps?
Joined the Marine Corps in 1953, and I was in for 6 years.
53.
53 to 59 plus 2 years in reserves. 8 years old.
You got to know Igor Sikorsky pretty well.
Well, only to the extent, right? We had lunch, we had a little conversation, but no more than a couple hours. So, yeah, no, I did not get to know him personally.
My final question, so I won't monopolize everything, but I'm just so interested in what you were saying. It's just so excellent. The presentation is just great. Have you designed anything that we should know about?
Yes, good question. Because I was because I was never worked as an astronomer, or I didn't really follow the career path that I had. I changed my direction by inventing. We invented this.
If everybody can go to mute unless they're asking a question, that would be great. So if you just, everybody goes to mute, and then just the person asking a question, because
Okay, I'm back in the air. So anyway, yeah, I invented the memories used on the computers, the Apple computers. They had no capacity for any storage, so I was part of the inventing team that developed these super magnets by compressing powder metals, making little donuts that were utilized as the saving or the storage capacity of the computer. The technology went on to get away from magnetic cold temperature items. But in my involvement, I learned cryogenics, which is the study of the super cold temperatures. And that led me to a different direction in my career path in the outside. And that was using for, liquefied gases for many reasons, many purposes. And they're all being used today. In addition, the memory, the storage capacity of the satellites in space have those original supermagnets. So yes, no, I did invent and I designed many things. I went on to develop cutting tools used in the machine shop industry for the aerospace super clean, super fine finishes. Did that answer your question?
Victor,
Hey.
you were on the crew when Eisenhower was president.
All right.
Is this strictly a military assignment, or does the president in some way have a voice in who is on his crew? And does it change when the president changes?
Good question. The decision for anything relative to the transport service is, the final say is the president's. Matter of fact, when we discussed the white tops on the helicopters, it was him that agreed that it would be a good thing to have a distinctive presentation, and I was given a commendation for that.
I've got two questions and a statement. So the first statement is John Hughes, who you all know, he's 101 years old and our Pearl Harbor survivor. He actually worked with Sikorsky on the helicopters that he developed, and he was one of the pilots that worked with Sikorsky a lot. So we've got two gentlemen in our organization that have met with and been with Igor Sikorsky. So I think that's pretty cool. And then the two questions I have, Vic, you were at Millington, Tennessee?
I was in Millington, Tennessee, yes.
Okay, that's where I went to my school only 30 years later.
Yeah, right. I was I was in Jacksonville for 3 months on fundamentals. Then I went to a Class A school in Memphis.
Yeah. Oh, funny, good memories. And then I might have been in the same barracks as you. And then my last one, what were the, you said life-saving from Sikorsky for that. Was it multiple things you did, or were there specific things you did to get that certificate? What was that involved?
We were actually, we happened to be at the time in Jacksonville, Florida, at the airport, ready to take off. So it's early in the morning. We cranking up the airplane, warming up. When this plane came into the approach to the final, but he was coming too high, too fast. So he took a deep dive into the landing strip. He was going too fast, so he tried to give them more power and took off, bypassed the landing. And as he made a left turn to the left, he apparently moved too fast, too soon, so he lost his dynamics and he fell. His plane actually lost his lift, so he was so low, and he was no more than 100 feet off the water when he landed. He crashed. So he kind of the airplane lay on the water, floating. But the problem was that the pilot could not undo his harness. That's the reason I decided, and I told the pilot that we needed to get close enough where I could jump in the water. So I jumped off the helicopter, swung to the airplane, assisted the pilot to release his harness, got him out of the cockpit, and dragged him out to the helicopter, lift him up. At that particular time, the plane went down. So we were saved by the fact that I removed him out of the airplane. Otherwise, he would have drowned. And that's the reason. See, Igor Sikorsky developed the helicopter for the Navy, primarily to do sea air rescue for downed pilots or people that, sometimes deliver equipment or bring supplies. So my participation was, yes, that I took the guy out of the water and took him up to the helicopter, flew him to the hospital. The hospital in Jacksonville, and then we took off on our path. It was a couple months later that I knew that I was being given a certification.
Two follow-on questions. One is, I don't know if you do it, but I would suggest you put in that story in every one of your presentations, because that's fascinating. And then the second thing is, did the military give you anything for that?
No, the military they gave me a letter of recommendation, not a boy kind of thing. But it was, at that particular time, it was not acceptable, or because it was a civilian award given to military men. So the only thing that they allowed me to go to the factory and they flew me there to be part of the luncheon. So no, there was.
Last question.
Yeah.
Did you ever keep in contact with that guy that you pulled out of that plane?
No, matter of fact, I not even knew his name.
Oh.
No, never knew his name. Didn't. I believe Navy Times gave him some accolades for avoiding crashing in the populated area.
Sounds like the moderator.
In the plane in the water.
Thanks. Thanks.
Thank you, Dwight.
Victor, it's Jim. You had a slide very early on. Yes, it's Jim.
Any more questions?
Yes.
Yeah, Jim does, but he's talking, but he's on mute, Jim.
Got me on mute.
He's ready.
Take me off mute. Okay, I'll
while you're waiting for him, Victor, when you and I were working together, Raytheon, you told some stories, and you had some experiences on Marine One with some other dignitaries, including, if I recall, the head of state of Cuba.
Yes, thank you, Scott. Yeah, I usually try to maintain. Not speak too much because I can talk all day. The thing is that when Fidel Castro came to America to address the United Nations, he was invited to come and speak to the president. When we picked him up at Andrews Air Force Base, I was told by the naval attaché, Navy Captain Peterson, to fly chase, not in my helicopter as a crew chief. He says, I'm going to be sitting on your position, and I'm going to take over the president. He says, I want you to listen to those guys in the follow-up plane, Che Guevara, all the other lieutenants of Castro's. He said, you know Spanish, you understand what they say. If there is any reason or any indication that they are going to harm the president, you call me back on the red line, and then jump off the helicopter. And I said, jump. They said, yeah, we're going to blast about this guy. So nothing happened. So everything was okay. But yeah, I got to sit next to Che Guevara and Raul Castro, which were very prominent on the revolution of Cuba. To answer your question, Scott?
Any questions? Go ahead, Jim.
Victor, early on you had a slide that showed your family, and you and I discussed it the other day, but I'd like you to address it to the group. It was of your mother and your father, and you had the name change. Would you would you feel comfortable to discuss it?
I remember. Yeah, what my name essentially was originally Peacock, and when my father was disowned by his family for marrying a foreigner, my mother, he says, "Well, the hell with you guys. He says, I'll create my own family. So he had the name changed officially from Peacock to Pavo. Thank you, Jim.
Yes, wonderful.
I have a question. I have a question for you, Vic.
Yeah, Frank.
How many flew on the helicopter when the president flew? I mean, you must have had Secret Service on there too, right?
Negative. No, we did not have any security on board.
I'll be on.
If there would be any incident or any attempt on the president, we would have to take a bullet for him because we didn't have a security personnel. We didn't have any of the staff of the White House Secret Service people on board. We only had on board, only had capacity for 4 people, 5 people. So the president was always at the choice seat, and then they had the secretary seat next to him.
That's nation.
They had a place for a dignitary or VIP and the interpreter. So at the most, it was 5 people plus that they were attaché. We had 6 people on board, most always.
Well, did you fly with them?
I flew with them. Yeah, I was on board there.
Yeah. So were you the only crewman on the besides the pilot and you must have had a co-pilot, right?
Yeah, Frank. There was a pilot, a co-pilot, and I was the crew chief. I was in the cabin because the helicopter needed outside visuals when the helicopter landed or when they took off. So yeah, it was always necessary for a crew chief to be on board.
Were you armed, Vic?
No, I was not armed.
Was anybody on board the helicopter armed?
Not that I know of. Not the crew members, no.
I'll be on.
We had an umbrella of interceptors. We had some fighter planes that were in the area, and they always followed the helicopter. There was a airplane, a weather plane above us, keeping an eye on the direction where we were going, make sure that there was always.
Oh, that flew away.
Hey, Scott, can you mute everybody and then they can unmute as they want to talk? Because there's a lot of background again.
So, do you have a question?
Was it during your time? Was it during your time that you went to the White Top on the helicopters?
I repeat you at the beginning.
During your years, was it? Did you went to the White Top on the helicopter? Because they were just generic OD green or whatever color, but then you went to the White Top.
Yeah, the White Top is merely a distinctive separation of the helicopters in the Marine Corps are all green. Mm-hmm. Marine Corps green. And remember too, at that time, we also had Army helicopters flying the president. So they called them Army One when the president was born. The Army helicopters were olive drab in color, and they were dull, they were pretty dirty. The Marine helicopters, of course, we always maintained them to the best condition. We watched them constantly. Everything was very, very clean. The Army didn't have that intention. They didn't have, all they knew that they were going to fly the helicopter and the president was going to fly with them as a passenger. So they had no way of knowing how to take care of the helicopters. The first time that they landed next to me in Anacosta, our standby station, they didn't even have a crew chief. They had a mechanic on board. He came over and said, "See, how you make your helicopter so shiny?" And I said, "We put a lot of hours, we polish it with wax." He said, "Well, how can I make it look good?" I said, "I use a rag and get some hydraulic fluid and wipe it off. It'll be clean, it'll be shiny." So they cleaned the side where the doors were, where the president would come in. The rest looked like crap. eventually they started cleaning them up, and actually they brought their helicopters to Quantico, to HMX-1, where they got painted white with a white top same way. They looked terrible. The president did not like the Army service. It was just not the same as the Marine helicopters.
Fair enough.
For your, there is a helicopter at the Nixon Library, which is Scott, Wayne Scott alluded to. The Nixon Library helicopter is an S-71, and it's actually painted with Marine Corps colors. Every time that they use it to pick up the president, they put a sign on the steps going out the door that says Army 1, welcome aboard. So every time they brought it back, they took the sign off and put it away. That helicopter today is home based in the helicopter schools in, I think it's Georgia or North Carolina. Anyway, the Army did have the service. The president did fly the president, but the Army was used primarily to fly the vice president or some Speaker of the House, whoever. At that time, the Speaker of the House was Lyndon Johnson. The vice president was Nixon. So that became the Army 2, because only the president makes an Army 1. So that's the story about the color scheme, white top, to distinguish it from the other green helicopters.
That's great. Thank you.
All right.
All right, thank you. Okay, Victor, thank you very much for a great presentation. I'm going to unmute so that you can hear the thunderous applause from